Wrestling is one of America's pastimes, and one professional wrestler has made a name for himself here in West Virginia, the Cuban Assassin. 59 news anchor Claudia Sessa and photojournalist Larry Mars dive into the story.
The Cuban is leveling again on Guerrero.
The name my dad created, Cuban Assassin. He created that when 1960s when he started wrestling in 1968, but the Cuban Missile Crisis was still known in the news and JFK assassination was still fresh. My dad, he created the name because he looked like Fidel Castro.
You sure that's not Fidel? The Cuban Assassin calls himself.
He came up with this idea to be Fidel Castro's private secret bodyguard and also like a secret agent for him in the wrestling world. He's supposed to go out and assassinate all the competition.
Get a close-up of that Cuban Assassin, man. He's something else.
My dad was born and raised in Guanobo, Puerto Rico, but my dad's mom, my grandmother, she's Cuban, from Cuba. That's where he got that from, and that's also where his dark complexion came from.
I almost broke my fingers, referee.
So I was under the mask called the Super B in the beginning. After the Super B, I became the Cuban Commando because I didn't want to take my dad's name because my dad was still wrestling. So I took Commando because my dad and his partner Jerry Morrow were the Cuban Commandos as a tag team. I was going to be his Cuban Commando, and my dad would be the Cuban Assassin. And before he retired, I got to be his tag team partner, and then I became the Cuban Assassin after that. My uncle also was a wrestler. You know, also my dad and my uncle were both wrestlers. Then I became a wrestler. My son wrestled, and my nephew wrestled.
This is for all the Latinos out there, Daddy.
I see my dad as great as any Latino wrestler. I see him at the level as Mil Mascaras. Mil Mascaras is one of the greatest Latino wrestlers in history, probably the most famous one other than Rey Mysterio. A heritage from wrestling's always been, especially Latino wrestling, it's been our heritage. It's everywhere. There's a lot of Latinos involved now, more so than it's ever been in the business, and I'm happy to see that.
Living in color, baby.